Honourable Member for Castries South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise at this very late hour. And of course, Madam Speaker, I'm sure you are aware that we would have all preferred to be elsewhere, Madam Speaker, but I think we have some duties to perform in this Honourable House. So, Madam Speaker, please permit me to respond to the proposed bill before this House, and to start off, Madam Speaker, by saying to the Honourable Member for Ancillary Canaries that he keeps referring to the former St. Lucia Tourist Board. The simple fact is there is still a St. Lucia Tourist Board, and as a bill would state, it is only when, and I probably would read it, Madam Speaker, that it is only from the date of commencement of this Act that the St. Lucia Tourist Board shall cease to exist. So the St. Lucia Tourist Board still exists, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, I'll come back to that point a bit later. It is stated, Madam Speaker, that the purpose of this bill is to repeal and replace the old Tourism Industry Development Act and to increase the social economic contribution of tourism to national development. That's a specific purpose of this bill. Madam Speaker, if you are repealing, replacing, if you are abandoning the St. Lucia Tourist Board that has served us for many years, you'd want to believe that the Minister of Tourism would present to the House, or at least somewhere would have presented a vision of where tourism will be going in this country. Now, Madam Speaker, I know the Minister himself, and I'll be fair to him, would have made statements here and there about tourism. The Honourable Prime Minister, who we know has a very strong view as to what tourism should be and what role it should play in our national development, has said a few things. But nowhere, Madam Speaker, have we heard a comprehensive vision of the role of tourism in our national development. Because if the Honourable Member for Ancillary Canaries stated that the purpose of this bill is to put in the institutional framework for a new tourism industry, but we don't even know what that tourism industry is supposed to look like, at least from the view of the government side. Now, Madam Speaker, probably the first thing that ought to have been done was to do a review of the St. Lucia Tourist Board and of the tourism industry in St. Lucia. And if such a review was done, to present it to the House to justify why a new institutional framework was being put into place. Now, Madam Speaker, you'll recall that the member for Ancillary Canaries had announced last year that he was doing an audit in the St. Lucia Tourist Board. And one would believe that before you present a new bill, a new institutional framework for the tourism industry in St. Lucia, we would have received the audit. The audit would have told us what went wrong, who did what was wrong, and outline recommendations as to what ought to be done. So, Madam Speaker, taxpayers' monies were taken to conduct an audit. It has not been presented to the House, it has not been presented to the public, but we already have a new institutional framework that has been put into place to carry the tourism industry for the years to come. And one has to ask the question of the Honourable Member, where is the audit? What are the findings of the audit? And, Madam Speaker, I think it is only logical that we would expect that the findings to be presented here today when the new legislation is being proposed and to be passed that would guide our tourism industry moving forward. And a lot has been said, Madam Speaker, by the Honourable Member about who spent what on what and who did wrong. But we've still not seen before the Honourable House a complete submission from him. So, Madam Speaker, if we are restructuring, it should have started with that review. And if such a review was done, the Honourable Member should have presented it to the House, or at least to the public. Madam Speaker, I'm going to say a few things about the decision taken last year, Madam Speaker, to send the entire staff, almost every staff member of the Tourist Board, home on the grounds that the Tourist Board was being restructured and that staff members were being made redundant. Madam Speaker, I think it is a little unfair to staff members to have claimed that you had dissolved the Tourist Board. My girlfriend, Madam Speaker, what kind of decorum is this in this house, Madam Speaker? Members on the other side are rather amusing, and somebody described the honourable member from Castries as being very amusing, Madam Speaker. But Madam Speaker, maybe I have the most girlfriends, Madam Speaker. But the more you give me, I would argue with you. Madam Speaker, the Tourist Board was being dissected from the moment the government was sworn in, Madam Speaker. And it was said that it was being done because restructuring was taking place. But no restructuring can take place until this becomes act, the commencement of this act. And one has to ask the question, under what authority members were sent home, the board was dissolved, and persons told that they were being made redundant. And I trust, Madam Speaker, at the appropriate time, that the workers can be given a full justification as to why they were sent home. The honourable member, Madam Speaker, spoke of the Tourist Board as being an events management company. Madam Speaker, this is gross disrespect to the hard-working staff of the St. Lucia Tourist Board over the last decade or so, Madam Speaker. St. Lucian professionals that have given a lot to this country, working hard to promote this destination, to bring tourists to this country, and to describe it as an events management company. But, Madam Speaker, I will come to the whole notion of the events management company. Because when the Honourable Minister says that the Tourist Board was underperforming, Madam Speaker, let me remind him of the statistics, Madam Speaker. Between 2011, 312,404 stay-over arrivals. By the end of 2015, it was 344,908, an increase, Madam Speaker. There was substantial growth in the U.S. market, 122,356 in 2011 to 152,738 by the end of 2015. But you said you were underperforming, Madam Speaker. Cruise arrivals, Honourable Minister, and you said persons should go and do their research and read before they speak in this Honourable House. Cruise arrivals increased from 630,000 in 2011 to 667,000 in 2015. Madam Speaker, in that last 5 years, because of the strategic airline airlift plan followed, there was increased airlift to St. Lucia, additional JetBlue services, new United Airlines services, additional Delta services, increase in airlift from Canada by 11%, in the United States of America by 9%. Madam Speaker, but despite all of that, let's put it in context of the Eastern Caribbean, Honourable Minister. When you're speaking of we've been underperforming, St. Lucia was performing the best in the Eastern Caribbean, Madam Speaker. Tell me no, Madam Speaker, hold on, let me continue. St. Lucia performed above the average in 2 consecutive years, 2012 and 2014. But the data is there. St. Lucia performed above the average for 2 consecutive years, 2012 and 2013. The years, Madam Speaker, 2014 and 2015, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, you have to, statistics again. In 2014, 2015, St. Lucia did not perform the best because in Aruba, Grenada, Barbados, there were significant increases in properties and room stock. The opening of the Sandals in Grenada, Sandals in Barbados, and hotels opening in Aruba. So they did better than St. Lucia. But in terms of real growth, St. Lucia still outstripped all of them. Madam Speaker, it's for the same reason why in St. Lucia, you will see significant increases because of the opening of the Royal Town Hotel. Because of that hotel being off the market for a number of years. And now that it's reopened, you will see a significant increase, and especially out of the Canadian market, Madam Speaker, because of the link between Royal Town and the Canadian market. So, Madam Speaker, when the honourable member says St. Lucia was underperforming, St. Lucia was performing above the average, and the only time it was no longer was when other territories, Grenada and Barbados, opened new standards hotels, and there were increases, Madam Speaker. So do not come to this honourable house and then insult the hard work of St. Lucian professionals who worked hard and diligently to promote this destination. Madam Speaker, the honourable member said the tourist board was just an events management company. But you know one thing? They're doing it a lot better than events company of St. Lucia is doing right now. Although I don't blame the professionals in there. I blame the concept of the Soleil St. Lucia Summer Festival. Madam Speaker, a concept borrowed from southern France. Concept almost down to the logo, Madam Speaker, copied and borrowed from another jurisdiction. And you're saying to me, Madam Speaker, and let's talk a bit about Soleil, because the honourable member from Ancillary should have told us what is the role that events will now play in our tourism. Because the first major decision taken by the government in relation to tourism was to strip the Central Tourist Board, send everyone home except a few chosen persons, and, Madam Speaker, to then establish what they call the Summer Festival, to do away with the Jazz Festival. And it pained my heart, Madam Speaker, a couple of weeks ago, to hear officials from St. Kitts boasting of the festival. It has now become a festival, and saying that they're copying the model of what they had in St. Lucia. So they now have 14 days of events all over St. Kitts. They never had that before. For 14 days, there are events all over St. Kitts, in all the communities in St. Kitts. And they're saying it was copied on the St. Lucia Arts and Jazz Festival, Madam Speaker. Instead of 25 years of hard work and brand building in St. Lucia, we gave it up for something called Soleil St. Lucia. Madam Speaker, the Arts and Jazz Festival became a jazz weekend. And the honourable member at some point will need to tell us how much money was spent on on the events that weekend. Over $4 million. And a lot has been said, Madam Speaker, on how much money was spent on the 25th anniversary of jazz last year. And I can recall, and the honourable member can correct me, I'm sure I heard he said $11 million was spent, or 14 million. Now 14 million was spent on an arts and jazz festival celebrating 25 years. It was the biggest jazz festival we ever had in St. Lucia in terms of activities, in terms of number of artists and everything else. And remember, it was also the arts festival. There was an arts village. There were activities throughout this country. For almost 2 weeks of events, communities enjoyed and benefited from it. But, Madam Speaker, there was a jazz festival, Madam Speaker, where over $4 million was spent on the weekend, Madam Speaker. And if you had been in the Calypso tents, and there are members in here who were there, the Prime Minister sitting to my right, the Honourable Member from Gozi, I think he bought me a drink at one time. Madam Speaker, people were joking that there were more people in the tent than there were at the Jazz Festival at Pigeon Point. This is not a joke, Madam Speaker. No, I'm just, Madam Speaker. That what was your greatest event? Honourable Prime Minister, I can tell you a few things about Carnival, but let me tell you, if you've only now started following Calypso, I've been going to Calypso from the time I could crawl, so I can tell you about Calypso and Carnival and whatnot. But let's proceed. Let's proceed. You offered me a section in the road match. There's nothing like a section in the road match. You know, it just shows you don't even understand what Carnival is all about. But, Madam Speaker, the point I'm making is, on what? We'll come to that, 1.7. But, Madam Speaker, then we had, Madam Speaker, the Reggae and Soul Festival. More than $2.5 million spent on that weekend. More than $2.5 million, Madam Speaker. In the middle of the carnival season. In the middle of the carnival season. On a day that traditionally, those who follow Calypso will tell you, every Father's Day there's a special Calypso show on that Sunday. It could not be held this year. because there was Reggae and Soul Festival. More than $2.5 million, I am told, Madam Speaker. And there were hardly 500 people attending the shows, Madam Speaker. I'm telling you what I am told. You can, okay, how many? 5,000? 5,000? Okay, 5,000? 5,000? You'd be happy with that? But anyway, but can I just tell you something? Were you satisfied with the attendance? You were absolutely satisfied with the attendance. Madam Speaker, you recall a few weeks ago there was a show in Soufre by two very noted reggae artists, two in Soufre. You remember that honorable member for Soufre? Jack Kyo and another one? Right, rise up. There were more persons in Soufre attending that reggae show than there was at Reggae and Soul Festival. Madam Speaker, all that is happening now that they are competing with promoters. If promoters in St. Lucia who promote those reggae shows were given $2.5 million, they would have had a lot better performance than what was done. But the fundamental point, Madam Speaker, is what is the role of events in our tourism industry moving forward, Madam Speaker? And that's a critical question, because how many more years will we spend millions on a jazz weekend, on a reggae and soul weekend, that will not bring the desired results? And if the member for Miko South and the Prime Minister says to me he was very satisfied with the turnout at those shows, Madam Speaker, it really begs a question. Now for Carnival, I'm told $3 million is committed to Carnival. So over $4 million for Jazz Weekend, over $2.5 million for Reggae and Soul, that's already almost $7 million. Another $3 million, another $3 million, Madam Speaker, for Carnival. Madam Speaker, 1.7 million was given in previous years for Carnival. And you know, Madam Speaker, I support increasing the allocation for Carnival. I support it, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, Carnival needs more money, Madam Speaker. But where is the money going, Madam Speaker? Where is the $3 million going? There are no new events for Carnival. None. Promoters who are putting on the shows and the real life of Carnival are all the shows that are taking place. Madam Speaker, they will tell you it is worse this year to get the resources to make it happen. And Madam Speaker, whilst I can invite all members here to come to Color Me Red, Madam Speaker, because I'm familiar with it, I can tell you it is no easier, Madam Speaker. Not 1 cent has been made available to assist the persons that put on the biggest shows, that when individuals come from overseas, Madam Speaker, and they come for the parade Monday, Tuesday, they also want the other shows to go to. They want the other events to go to. And these things cost money, Madam Speaker. So if one is putting $3 million in Carnival, there has to be a serious dialogue with stakeholders as to how that money can best be utilized. Some people believe if they pay more money to the MCs at the shows and they pay more money, prize money, automatically the product improves. That's not necessarily the case, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the point though I want to make is that we need to have a very clear idea what is the role of events in our tourism industry plan moving forward, and that Events St. Lucia should not be competing as a promoter of events and shows in St. Lucia. It should not be competing with all the other promoters. Those other promoters can do a better job than Events St. Lucia, not necessarily in how the look and feel and the presentation of the event, but in terms of creating a vibe, creating a sense of something that you want to go to and you want to be part of. So Soleil St. Lucia Summer Festival is a flawed concept, Madam Speaker, that needs urgent rethinking. No, I did, but I'm saying to you, but precisely after what I saw at Jazz, Reggae and Soul, and the approach to Carnival, there is something flawed about it, and there should be some rethinking, because you cannot spend almost $11 million already, and you're not really sensing. And if anybody is honest enough to tell me that they're happy with what happened at Jazz and Reggae and Soul, Madam Speaker, then I'm not sure about this. Madam Speaker, the second point the member for Ancillary Caribbean should consider, and it's really important that he outlines the vision for tourism in St. Lucia, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, we've heard that Vieux-Fort will become the Pearl of the Caribbean, Castries will become the Monaco of the Caribbean, or Monaco of the world, I'm not sure, and that St. Lucia should be a model, and Jamaica should be the model for St. Lucia. And I heard all of that in I heard the one about Jamaica I think was it your Prime Minister, Honorable Member, who said so, that Jamaica is a model, that we should be following. We need to define, well, I think the Prime Minister from Jamaica was nearby, and maybe, that was there, yeah? You heard it, all right. But tickets to what? To your event? Madam Speaker, can I tell you something? I own nothing that is yellow. And Madam Speaker, I never liked yellow for one simple reason. And it's not political, Honorable Member. As a young man, I could not pronounce yellow. I used to say yayo. That's why I always had a dislike for the color. Anyway, Madam Speaker, I can see your reaction. But Madam Speaker, the point though is, we need a vision. We need a vision as to what kind of St. Lucia we need. Because is it going to be a St. Lucia of skyscrapers? So we have a pool of the Caribbean with our entire coastline dotted with skyscrapers? Is it going to be Castries becoming a Monaco? What is it, Madam Speaker? But that's dreaming big. But you don't have to dream big, literally, Madam Speaker, to have big and tall skyscrapers. Your thinking big can be in the depth of your thoughts and the depth of your understanding of what it is. St. Lucia must be promoted as a place with a certain personality, Madam Speaker. Who we are as St. Lucians. Respect for our patrimony. Respect for our identity and personality, Madam Speaker. Having tall buildings doesn't make us big, and that's not thinking big, Honorable Member. Thinking big is a deeper concept than that, Madam Speaker. So I would like to hear from the Honorable Minister at some point in time, what is the vision for St. Lucia and how we see St. Lucia moving forward? Because I have an interest in it, Madam Speaker, because the constituency I represent has Marigot Bay, one of the most beautiful and scenic spots in St. Lucia. And there has to be a clear understanding of how does Marigot Bay fit into this new bill and this new vision for St. Lucia. Madam Speaker, Fuasho, Banan, when cruise ships come in, those are the first spots they see. And they've been talked for many years in this country, about redevelopment of the port and redevelopment of Castries. And I have an interest in it because the constituency I represent is right there on the coastline, on the front line. And anything that has to happen, Madam Speaker, there has to be dialogue with those persons who live in those areas. So the vision for St. Lucia tourism has to be discussed, and we have to have a clear understanding so I can explain and be part of that dialogue with the people of Marigot, the people of Banan, and the people of Fuasho and Old Cemetery. Madam Speaker, let us move quickly. And I want to focus, Madam Speaker, on the actual provisions of the bill at this point in time. Because, Madam Speaker, I want to say to the Honourable Member from Castries that there is no material difference between the old and what's being proposed now. There's no basic, there is some tidying up, but there is nothing in there that was not in the old bill. Nothing, Madam Speaker. Except you reduce the number of directors from 12 to 7, you remove a few clauses, Madam Speaker, but there is nothing materially that when you read this, you say, wow, this is going to transform tourism in St. Lucia. It's not there, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member speak of involving the private sector more. Tell me where in this bill can you find this? Where? There is nothing in here that is materially different than what was in the old bill, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to refer, and I'm glad the AG is here, between section 19.5c and 19.6, and whether or not, Madam Speaker, there is not a contradiction between those two provisions, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, 19.5 speaks that at a meeting of the board, the chairperson shall preside, or if the chairperson is not present, the deputy chairperson shall preside. Or 5C, if the chairperson or the deputy chairperson is not present, the directors present shall choose one of their number to preside. So it means if the chairperson is not there, or if the deputy chairperson is not there, one of their members can preside. Yeah? That's what that says. But then 6 goes on A meeting of the board is constituted if at the meeting there is the presence of the chairman, chairperson, or deputy chairperson, and a quorum of not less than 5 directors participating in the meeting. So 19.6 says the chairperson or the deputy chairperson must be present. And 19.5 says that if the chairman is not there, then the deputy chairperson, and if the deputy chairperson is not there, they can choose one of themselves to preside in the meeting. So I'm not sure whether or not this is not slightly contradictory, and we may wish to consider. And like I said, the AG is there so he can provide some guidance to us. And I want to move quickly, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Section 21, Chief Executive Officer. And Madam Speaker, I noted 21(2)(f) that the Chief Executive Officer attend meetings of the board unless directed otherwise by the chairperson, but have no voting rights in the meeting. It is now usual, Madam Speaker, for the CEO to participate and attend all board meetings, even if he is ex officio or has no voting rights. Under this clause, you're virtually saying that your CEO, he can be instructed by the chairperson not to attend board meetings. And I think, Madam Speaker, that cannot be right. That at least the chairperson should be a member of the board, even if it's ex officio with no voting rights. But the CEO should be a member of the board, because you create a situation where a chairperson can virtually instruct the CEO not to attend board meetings. And that is not usual for modern corporations or for good governance and efficient operations. And members opposite may wish to consider an amendment to that section. Madam Speaker, moving quickly along. Section 21, 22, 23, 24 speaks of different positions, but nowhere in there is it said who they should be reporting to. In this bill, Madam Speaker, it doesn't say whether the CEO reports to the chairman or to the board. It doesn't say whether the chief financial officer reports to the board or the CEO or the chairman. And maybe you might wish to consider ensuring that there's a clear statement of the lines of reporting. So it says clearly that the CEO reports to the board, because we all know, and we've all been in different businesses, that those things can create issues where the CEO is not clear whether he has to report to the chairperson or he has to report to the board. And especially in the case of the chief financial officer, is he reporting to the CEO or is he reporting to the board? Madam Speaker, Clause 26 speaks of secrecy and confidentiality, and it states all the exemptions. But should we not consider, and I know this government has an obsession with secrecy and confidentiality clauses, whatnot, that, and I ask the question, just for consideration, that if an employee wishes to report instances of corruption or wrongdoing, should that person not be exempted from having committed a crime? Because in there, it would be considered having committed a crime, even if that person is exposing instances of corruption and wrongdoing within the corporation. Even if that person goes, and reports it to the CEO or somebody, it can be interpreted as such. And again, I'm going to ask the AG and the Honorable Minister to consider. Madam Speaker, quickly, Section 35, Madam Speaker. It speaks of the annual report. A, an account of the performance of activities and operations of the authority. B, an assessment of marketing performance undertaken in this act. And C, an analysis of the program of the tourism industry during the preceding year. What is the program of the tourism industry? Are you doing an assessment of the strategic plan, an assessment of the work program of the authority? What is the program of the tourism industry? Is it the function, the activities of the authority? Is it that of the entire country? What does that mean, Madam Speaker? And I would ask the honourable member whether or not he should also consider a D, Madam Speaker, that speaks of a report on product development in the country. Because this, if there is one addition to this that really makes a material difference, is that it explicitly speaks of product development. In the previous act, it made mention implicitly about product development. This is explicit in stating product development. But maybe you should have, as part of the annual report, a statement or an assessment of product development in the country. And Madam Speaker, I want to end, Madam Speaker, on the point where I started about the treatment, Madam Speaker, the unceremonious dismissing, Madam Speaker, of the staff at the St. Lucia Tourist Board. Madam Speaker, I believe they were treated badly for whatever reason. I'm not privy as to why it was felt that everyone should be sent home except a few chosen persons, Madam Speaker. But that's up to the union and the workers to deal with at the appropriate time. Madam Speaker, you see, at the end of the day, and I think the honourable member kind of betrayed it. He said Antigua has authority, Dominica has one, so we should have one too. Because there was no need, Madam Speaker, even in tidying up the act, to change the name from St. Lucia Tourist Board to St. Lucia Tourism Authority. What was the rationale for changing the name from St. Lucia Tourist Board to St. Lucia Tourism Authority? Is it flashing mirrors, Madam Speaker? Like the leader of the opposition is very quick to say, just flashing mirrors to say, we created something new. There is some tidying up, Madam Speaker, but there's no material difference between this and the previous, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.